everybody, including coaches, media, everybody was. It was like he was kind of doomed from the start, just because I felt like who his father was.
Stories, and then attach them to a kid that ain't ever done nothing wrong.
Yeah. How does that make you feel when you see your colleagues or your peers going in on you, man? Like, how does that make you feel?
No idea, man. You have no idea. We've always been in front of the camera, so they know how to navigate.
You know, he's only been coached by his dad. If anything, his dad showed him the right way and the only way, and you know how to work hard and do things as a pro. It should be a given you would want to draft this guy.
Phil Taylor has just dropped a massive bombshell, revealing a shocking secret about the NFL. According to Taylor, NFL owners and coaches never wanted Shaduer Sanders to make it to the league. And why, you ask? It's because he's Deion Sanders' son. That's right. The connection to one of the greatest players in NFL history became the reason why execs didn't want him drafted. They claimed he was only coached by his father, but let's be real. Deion didn't teach Shaduer anything but the values of hard work and discipline. But hold up.
Felt like, you know, owners and things like that, they didn't really like, you know, Prime and, you know, how flashy he was. So it kind of, you know, put a, you know, bad stain on, you know, Shaduer. But I think Shaduer is one of the classiest guys out there. And, you know what I'm saying?
Really Phil Taylor went on to explain that NFL owners were hesitant to welcome Shaduer Sanders into the league because of his connection to Deion and his flashy lifestyle. However, Taylor emphasized that Shaduer is one of the most well-rounded and classy young players to enter the NFL this season. While Shaduer's personal style often steals the spotlight, Taylor reminded everyone that he's still just a young man learning to navigate fame. Instead of being judged for his talent and character, Shaduer was unfairly criticized because of his family and public image. Taylor believes these biases prevented some teams from drafting a player who's clearly ready to make his own mark. Phil made it clear that the focus should be on Shaduer's performance, not the drama surrounding his family. It's time to stop holding him back and allow him to showcase his abilities. Shaduer has earned the respect and admiration of fans, and it's clear he's ready to prove himself on the field. However, Taylor pointed out that there are still forces trying to hinder him, making it more difficult for Shaduer to focus on his game and enjoy the success he's worked so hard to achieve. The distractions need to end, and it's time for Shaduer to just play ball.
He's still a kid.
And that's the thing. And it's, like I said, it's too much court of public opinion. You know what I mean? You got to let the guy play.
Former NFL players and analysts have started raising questions about the true reasons behind Shaduer Sanders' slide in the draft. Bart Scott on ESPN pointed out that he believes teams purposely avoided drafting Sanders early. He argued that Shaduer wasn't overlooked because of his performance, but due to more questionable and less obvious factors. This has sparked a broader conversation about bias and political influence in the NFL draft process. Many are now wondering if Shaduer's connection to Deion Sanders had more impact on his draft position than his actual skills and talent.
Attach them to a kid that ain't ever done nothing wrong.
Yeah. How does that make you feel when you see your colleagues or your peers going in on you, man? Like, how does that make you feel?
No idea, man. You have no idea. We've always been in front of the camera, so they know how to navigate. They know how to handle themselves. Yeah. And you're not gonna catch them in no foolery and no mess. You're not, when you sit up there and say something like he went in a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shaduer Sanders, who's had 6 different coordinators.
Bart Scott made it clear that Shaduer Sanders wasn't just a solid option, but the perfect fit for several teams in need of a quarterback. He argued that there was no debate. Passing on him was a huge missed opportunity. Scott highlighted that evaluators and scouts had all the data, film, and performance stats they needed to make the right call. Yet they chose to overlook Sanders. According to Scott, that decision is going to come back to bite them. As Sanders continues to prove his worth on the field, Scott warned that some front office personnel may soon find themselves out of a job for letting such a talent slip by. So, what exactly triggered this whole controversy? Why are players and analysts now speaking out against the owners for their treatment of Shaduer Sanders? Many point to the media, NFL pundits, and even some coaches who have openly criticized Shaduer's confidence, often misreading it as arrogance. What should be seen as a positive trait, his self-assurance, ended up rubbing some people the wrong way. The tipping point came when respected quarterbacks coach Mike McCoy publicly called Shaduer brash and arrogant during a press conference. That statement shook the league. While some defended Shaduer and pushed back against McCoy's remarks, the fact that it came from such a prominent coach only intensified the situation. This negative perception of Shaduer quickly gained traction, influencing narratives and draft decisions in ways that stats and performance never could.
Team NFL interview, you heard Shady McCoy give out a chuckle. Brash and arrogant is what they said about Shaduer
Picking
Sanders.
in the top 7.
No doubt about it. That's the quarterback coach. 2-5, I'm going to let you sound off real quick. What do you make of it? Do you have an issue with it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you could say this to your coaches, your ownership, your GM, right? But why are you saying it to the media, right? And another thing is, like, I hate when people don't ever, like, put a name on it.
The situation didn't end there. Critics seized on the moment, and the media quickly picked up the narrative, pushing it forward with relentless momentum. High-profile figures like Colin Cowherd openly branded Shaduer and his family as egoistic, criticizing their selective approach to potential team destinations. What started as mere speculation rapidly transformed into a full-blown agenda. The focus of the narrative shifted. Headlines began obsessing over attitude instead of athleticism, and character was prioritized over capability. Franchises, now wary of the surrounding noise and controversy, started to tread carefully in their decision-making. At the height of the controversy, Colin Cowherd escalated the criticism, openly mocking Deion Sanders and suggesting he had exaggerated his son's talents. In Cowherd's view, Deion hadn't taught Shaduer humility. Instead, he implied that Deion was exploiting his son's rising fame. This was a harsh and divisive opinion, one that ignored Shaduer's proven skills, impressive stats, and leadership on the field. Rather than recognizing the quarterback's performance, Cowherd chose to focus on family dynamics and media perception, further fueling the narrative that was quickly overshadowing the facts.
Okay, let's get to the Shaduer Sanders thing. So, let me tell you something. It's never a bad message to tell your kids, be humble. Humility works in the summer. It works in the fall. Humility works in the spring. Humility works in the winter. Don't gas your kids up too much. It didn't really bother me when they retired Shaduer Sanders' number.
Colin Cowherd wasn't the only one criticizing Shaduer. Attacks came from all directions, each adding fuel to the growing narrative that contributed to his unexpected fall in the draft. One of the most talked-about moments occurred during a segment with Stephen A. Smith, where former NFL quarterback Cam Newton shared his thoughts. Cam suggested that Shaduer avoids being challenged, hinting that his confidence bordered on self-absorption, even implying that he believes no one in his draft class is on his level. This was yet another layer to the media storm, which continued to shift the focus from Shaduer's performance to his personality. Cam Newton didn't just critique Shaduer's mindset. He went further by questioning the authenticity of his on-field success. Newton implied that Shaduer had thrived in convenient positions, suggesting his achievements were more about having favorable circumstances and controlled environments than about raw talent or hard work. The message was clear. Shaduer's success was seen as protected, not earned, and this narrative continued to overshadow his draft stock, despite the impressive stats and leadership he consistently displayed.
Listen, I'm not refuting what you're saying. I'm trying to comprehend what you're saying. What do you mean he doesn't want to be challenged?
That got my attention too.
So I'm asking. You on first take. You damn right I'm asking you.
There's been history there, and I've always challenged Shaduer publicly and to him in ways that, like, bro, I want to see the best version of Shaduer. Shaduer has always played in a very convenient situation.
Previously, Deion Sanders didn't hold back when addressing the wave of criticism aimed at his son. Speaking out with trademark intensity, Coach Prime condemned what he called a campaign of false narratives targeting Shaduer. According to Deion, the attacks had little to do with Shaduer's talent or conduct and everything to do with his last name. In his eyes, Shaduer has consistently delivered on and off the field, leading, performing, and carrying himself with professionalism. Yet the criticism persisted. For Deion, it's no longer just about football. It's become deeply personal. He believes the treatment Shaduer has received reflects a broader issue of bias and resentment, rooted not in merit, but in the fact that he is Deion's son. Despite the clear efforts by some NFL owners and coaches to sabotage Shaduer Sanders' career, the young quarterback has remained silent and focused on his game. From the moment he was drafted, the narrative surrounding him shifted from his on-field performance to unwarranted criticisms about his confidence and family connections. The media, pundits, and even former players like Colin Cowherd and Cam Newton took aim at his character, rather than acknowledging his talent. These attacks fueled a narrative that worked against Shaduer, overshadowing his abilities and making it harder for him to secure the respect he deserved. But now, the tide is turning. Former players like Phil Taylor have stepped up to expose the truth and speak out against the bias Shaduer faced. Taylor's bold statements bring much-needed attention to the unfair treatment Shaduer endured, shedding light on how his talent was undermined for reasons beyond his control.